We'll see you in the Nexus.
Tempo Storm is but one game away from making it to HGC Finals, taking out Gale Esports, getting to go to BlizzCon. They've been working so hard. They've had a boot camp, kind of an emergency boot camp, just to make sure they were ready for this, and it's obvious that it paid off, Glau.
I love it, the emergency boot camp. It's like, playoffs are coming up, guys. We gotta get to SoCal stat.
Let's do it. We gotta get in there. We gotta get some tacos. We gotta make sure that we're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
First step.
I mean, that's my favorite part.
Tacos,
like looking
yeah.
at their Twitter and stuff like that. You just see pictures of food from Fury in June and stuff. And it's like, where's my invitation?
It's probably more like KBBQ though.
I mean, probably. I just find it amazing that your immediate first thing on a boot camp is like, you got to get yourself some tacos. Like,
I got my priorities straight.
I'm on board. I'm just saying that I was surprised that was your go-to.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they are boot camping in SoCal, so that is an angle that you can respect. Because, like, for me personally, when I come to SoCal, the tacos are some of the best food.
Yeah, well, there you go. Glau gets me. Let's get ready for Game 3, and let's see if Gale Esports can bring it back, or else this will be it for them in HGC 2017. We're headed to Towers of Doom.
Tempo Storm's map choice, that surprises me. The fact that they chose Towers of Doom, I've never really thought of it as like Tempo's favorite map, but it's interesting to me that they choose that. Was Cursed Hollow banned by GFE?
No.
No, so they decided to choose it.
Dragonshire.
They choose it over Cursed Hollow. That's interesting to me.
And Towers of Doom used to be a map that Tempo Storm really enjoyed. It just was long ago. So the fact that they're kind of bringing it back to light here is a little bit surprising.
They've been picking it a little bit more in this part, but the results did not necessarily reflect that. They were 0-6 for a long time. They won their last 2 games on Towers of Doom, though, so maybe they've got a fresh outlook on the map.
Or maybe not so fresh in the sense that double support Vala is also really good in the bot lane on this map.
Maybe that's it.
And, yeah, it's even more impressive.
Ooh, okay, Tempo Storm bans the Vala this time.
Not willing to risk it, whether Gale Force wanted to pick it up. To be honest, if I'm up 2 games and Gale Force wasn't willing to pick it on Tomb, I don't know why I'd assume they'd pick it on Towers.
Because maybe it was a wake-up call in that last game from GFE. I actually think it is a very respectful move from Tempo to show that Vala ban because, like, honestly, if they didn't first pick it on Tomb when Tempo's shown the Vala trend that they have, then from Tempo's perspective, they've got to expect GFE to make that transition as well. I'm curious to see what they first pick here. ETC is available, same with Tassadar, same with Dahaka. There's a lot of power picks on Towers of Doom still available. I also could see a scenario in which they pick Malthael. Okay, they pick ETC. Now, Tempo's perspective, there's a few things they could deny. With Abathur already being taken out of the picture, there's a bit of less of a priority on Genji overall, but we could see Psalm. Now that he's off the Vala, this is going to be the first time in the playoffs we've seen him play a different hero. We could see him on something like that Genji.
What about
Oh.
Medivh?
That's true, too.
I mean, is there not? I'm automatically concerned. The minute I pull away from the Vala, I go Medivh on a map like Towers?
We're talking 12 months ago, like preparation to BlizzCon, that version of Tempo, Astral Authority, they used to take people to Towers and just put a heavy emphasis on Stitch's Medivh and kidnap. That sort of strategy in general. And I wonder if they're sort of coming back to Towers with that mentality. I had to think so far back, but we could see Stitch's Medivh later.
Yeah, maybe. I just know that Tempo Storm has been more comfortable to bump out the Medivh probably, I think, week 3 of part 2 that they started showing that they have it within their arsenal.
Okay.
On a map like this, wouldn't be too surprised to see it come out here, but they go with that Rhaegar and the Malthael. Rhaegar a lot higher than we've seen of every other pick from Tempo Storm, but also because the Vala's gone.
Well, it's not only because the Vala is gone, I think selecting Malthael for your offlane means that, in general, you're not going to have that same global presence you otherwise would. So Rhaegar, in the support role, can kind of compensate for that lack of global pressure with his improved wave clear, his good camp control, and then also that synergy between those 2 heroes is interesting. But in team fights, Malthael and Rhaegar have a beautiful unison when it comes to their ultimates.
It also probably gives them the possibility of going into double support still, but not completely limiting them to that.
Because Malthael, he can thrive with 1 support, and he can thrive even harder with 2 supports. So, and Tempo's already shown in every single game that they like the double support. We can see if they can go into that later. If GFE picks a few heavy auto attackers like, okay, Greymane Lucio, I could actually see it a world where Tempo's secondary support is Lili, or GFE bans the Lili away.
Yeah, in order to try and remove that, especially if your main damage dealer is going to be that Greymane, you do not want to deal with Koth and Luck on the Lili. Always ready for adventure.
For sure. I also think Brightwing is maybe functionally equivalent for Tempo Storm. so they might not prioritize Lily on the next pick. And GFE might ban the Brightwing instead due to the Emerald Wind disengage versus Lucio.
Man, the disengage to be able to deal with is absolutely terrifying. Do you think Arthas is going to show? Does it have to show for either side of the table? I know for the Gale Force, when I see anytime Greymane and Lucio stick together, I immediately go, Arthas could be very, very effective. But do you think that is going to come out here? I feel like for Gale Force, they have to make changes, so I automatically feel like all assumptions are kind of out the window for them, whereas Tempo is going to stick to what's been working.
I would not personally like the Arthas pick, primarily just because the Malthael has already shown.
Okay.
Malthael would just thrive off of the ghouls and off of the fact that Arthas is another frontliner. I feel like it's just a bad matchup for it, but at the same time, I feel like GFE needs to mix it up.
Yeah.
So
Probably not
how
the
they
right
do
direction.
it,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. It could be a Sonya, it could be an Arthas. It could be another double support style composition, but with Greymane as the hyper carry, there's a few options GFE has here. But I think the #1 priority for them is banning away what they are most scared of in the second support slot from Tempo or a hyper carry.
And for me, that it has to be the Brightwing, right? For like, if I had to choose one, Brightwing does a little bit of everything too much.
Yeah.
She's the one thing I don't want a part of double supporting, because in every version of double support, I can rely on healing being a problem. So then I have to start considering, well, what else? Brightwing, the global and the hard crowd control, she is unparalleled compared to every other support. So I think that makes sense to go with her.
I think so as well. I just think in general, Brightwing has a good matchup against ETC as well as Lucio.
Oh, yeah.
She can position in such a way to give her E to the target that's slid, as well as polymorph the mosh pit and have Emerald Wind to disengage to the Lucio's break it down. Like, those things, it makes a lot of sense that Brightwing was the choice to be banned out there.
I'm really hoping we see Gale Force go in. If they're going to follow up with another warrior whatsoever, I hope that it's going to be that Tyrael and they just go for a more melee kind of death ball
what a
strategy
surprise
and
you
not
want a
pull away from it.
Tyrael.
Yeah, you know, Dread really enjoys AoE sanctification. I feel like it just enables so many playstyles. It's so hard to deal with. It's just hard to play with as well.
Yeah, and Tyrael already has so many good pairings on the side of Gale Force with the ETC Lucio Greymane. My one concern, if they do go Tyrael, would be map pressure. What can they do in that aspect? But they do have ETC post level 10 to swap to that off lane, and Tyrael could be the main tank. Alternatively, if GFE didn't pick a mage or something, like they could pick a Falstad as well and go into that global. But we do see the Medivh, and they're hiding tank for last. That is suspect to me.
Suspect for
like,
Stitches? Can you
I feel like I see a Stitches in our future.
I see Stitches the most likely. Can you think of any other one that you would put in that area?
Well, there's a lot of tanks that do synergize with Medivh particularly well. Into ETC Lucio Greymane, I wouldn't really enjoy the Diablo. Also on towers, not so much. I feel like Stitches is good. Garrosh also, we've seen a lot from Fury, phenomenal play, and they have an inherent synergy between the two. Being able to just portal in, throw someone back, portal out, cue them towards you. It's actually a really sick combination that you don't get to see very often.
Sounds like you would be very practiced. You have to be very practiced with that, though.
Yeah, for sure. And also, the portal taunt is very, very strong, too, with Garrosh.
That's true. We'll see if that final pick is a Stitches or a Garrosh, but we are looking for the last 2 picks for Gale Force Esports.
I feel like they've got to just commit to the team composition they've
Already built?
Already built. I'd like to see like a Tyrael Leeming.
But it's in Gale Force's past.
But, sorry, Leeming's already been selected by Tempo. So it is the Falstad. And they decided to go double support with the Oriole. I don't know, this seems really forced, the double support here. But they do have Gust against Malthael. That's good overall. They have global pressure with the Falstad. They go Diablo instead of Stitches. I wonder if Tempo's decision changed once they saw the double support. Once they saw the double support, they thought Diablo would have a better matchup than the Stitches, respectively.
Yeah, that's an interesting kind of adjustment coming up from them. It is still, I mean, it's still really strong. Obviously, you were the first team to kind of show the duo synergy between the two. It's, I think, going to be difficult. Both of those supports, from my point of view of being the one trying to play it into a Diablo, I hate APOC because if I aegis somebody, they can be APOC'd immediately after. I'm like, I literally sentence you to death. Or if I want to just try and go with the sound barrier, I have to move up, which means I'm going to be clumping my team into an APOC. It just, both of them have to second guess themselves enough to where I don't hate it, but I agree with you. It does feel a little bit out of place.
Yeah, and one thing too that's just sort of funny, like the Oriole Aegis mechanic is kind of bittersweet sometimes because you do use it to save people, but just the functionality of Aegis and the way it sets it up, like back when Rag was in the meta, one of the classics was like you would see an Aegis come out and then
Sulfurous Smash.
Sulfurous Smash right on top of it. And that sort of thing can happen in this game, like you mentioned, with the Diablo or the Li Ming combo off of an Oriole Aegis. So that's a bit scary.
Yeah, it is going to be very scary.
Well, quickly, before we get into the game, I want to know your predictions. Does Gale Force win this, or is Tempo Storm going to take it home?
Tempo Storm's looking dominant. I mean, we haven't seen them off of double support Vala, so this is going to be telling, but I favor their draft heavily.
I just purely off play. Yeah, just Tempo Storm has looked very, very dominant. I agree with you. This game might be a very different version of Tempo, but if they show and perform at the same level, it even more of a statement of the level that this team is upgraded.
Well, we got everything set up, and then a player is not quite ready yet. So then let's talk what Gale Force needs to do then. At this point now, obviously they have Gus to try to help against the Wombo combo. Any other thoughts jump out to you guys for what they need to do to be able to claim this game?
They need to punish the solo lane. I feel like Medivh is going to be on the mid to bot side of the map. It's going to be really hard to punish the Leeming Rhaegar. And I feel like Diablo is going to be like that central person to just kind of anchor mid. And if Medivh is on the bottom side of the map, I feel like they should be looking to use False Stat aggressively or ETC aggressively to look to punish the Malthael. If they're able to get a couple pickoffs on, I'd assume it's Cattle this game, on the Malthael, if they can pick off Cattle a few times, then they could potentially snowball the game. But overall, in team fights, they have a few options. I don't even think with the comp they have as double support, they can win an out-sustain team fight just due to the fact that Malthael exists. But if they use Break It Down and Gust properly, they can split up the fight, get a couple picks that they need. But the execution is going to be immensely difficult for GFE here.
Yeah, the only redeeming quality when I look at Gale Force is that they have a lot of game-changing heroics. If used in a perfect situation, it like almost on its own can win the game, especially between the Gus and the ETC with the Mosh. But I just feel like the synergy that Tempo Storm has been able to display, they're willing to flex Psalm over onto the Medivh after banning the Vala. Like that already is a confidence statement in itself. The fact that it's been a new hero for him and then he's been just on fire here throughout the entirety of the day. Nothing screams Gale Force has changed enough after game number 1 and 2 is what I feel like with these comps, because I do dislike Tempo's draft here more than game 1 and 2 by far. Even though I don't think double support is the only way to go all the time, I just feel like they took a huge risk in the direction they went specifically with that Diablo.
Well, we're still waiting on Fan. Did you want to add something?
Just for me, to build on Dred's point, I feel like the double support is definitely a risk from GFE, and I wonder if it'll pay off for them. I don't necessarily expect the secondary support. I don't expect Oriole to get insane value just because she doesn't have the best battery and stuff like that, but I'm really interested to see how it plays out.
Well, while we are still waiting on Fan, Glowering, I'm going to put you on the spot here just a little bit. I think a lot of people are wondering, how is NA going to do now? You've gotten to see the groups, and we're going to talk about the groups at the end of the day again, but you've gotten to see the groups now. How do you think we're going to fare?
So I can't speak for other North American teams, but I can speak for my team, and one thing about Roll20 in general lately, the amount of work being put in by everyone has stepped up. Like specifically, I'd like to shout out like Justin. After Midseason Brawl, I took a step back in drafting, and Justin, he leads the draft now, but everyone gives input, and it's this sort of like dynamic that we've been able to develop that I think is integral to our success at BlizzCon. I think that we got a pretty good group overall. I'm excited to play versus Dignitas specifically, just so that it can kind of make Snitch simmer down a little bit, as well as play against Mene. I love playing against those guys. It's so much fun.
Well, while we are still waiting, we're going to take a look at a couple of players. You talked about the shot callers, so we're going to look at the shot callers of both of the teams, although Michael Udall, we know, has taken a step back from the shot calling that we had seen from Gale Force at the beginning of this new iteration of Gale Force. Dred, are there any statistics that stand out to you? It's hard between these two because they have changed roles so much.
Yeah, I mean, immediately I would say yes, Gilly. The siege damage being 30,000, almost 30,000 higher for Mikey Doll does stand out, but he's also been more of that kind of side soaker more consistently for the squad.
Team Expert versus GFE comes to mind when he's just split pushing, and like that's the map they ended up taking.
Yeah.
So like I feel like the big difference, like you were saying, is just due to the playstyle.
Yeah, the playstyle between the two is just so drastically different. But I think the kill participation, the fact that Cattle's been more up on top of that, with being the shot caller, anytime that sits above like I personally aim for like 95 is where I'm very impressed with a player if they get in that area. And being at the 92 as the shot caller is a big standout for Tempo.
Well, thank you guys for your input. Let's see if it's the final game of the series. We are headed to Towers of Doom with Gale Force down 2 games in the series.
And Tempo Storm 1 game away here from the goal, BlizzCon, HGC Finals. But Gale Force Esports, man, after having so long here, you know, I say so long, but it's been 2 weeks, but in the world of esports, that is so long.
An eternity.
To have to prepare here for the series. I just expected, I don't know if it was more cheese, if it was more something, more thought, it feels like, behind the drafting and approach to the game than they displayed for being a team that flaunted it so well throughout all of Phase 2.
Well, let's look at history. Let's take a look at the last time Gale Force were in playoffs in their series versus Roll20. They came in, the first game, they took away every single comfort pick you could possibly think of that was a Roll20 comfort pick, and ended up losing that game, but they were so far ahead. They are traditionally the team that has come into these very important, big, hype series versus teams like Roll20 and Tempo Storm, and they seem to have every single game plotted out to a T. And we haven't seen any picks really like that, and whether that's to the credit of Tempo Storm, that Tempo have forced Gale Force to play on their level, the way that they're wanting to play, and they're controlling the drafting that well, or that it's Gale Force feeling like they are confident enough as a team that they don't have to bring in those kinds of strategies, that they can play more to just a strength within the meta. So far that hasn't worked out for them. And now it comes down to this game.
Let's take it even farther back.
Oh, here we go.
I'm ready to go down the rabbit hole, if we will, here. Hold up, though. Nice boop down below, although there is a Medivh here. Good portal here, and the members of Tempo Storm comfortable walking away. But if we take it even a step farther back here, let's go towards the mentality of the teams and what we've seen displayed today and some of the members we saw through the past. King Caffeine and K1 Pro, we'll set that one aside first. Let's go back to shot calling and passiveness from this squad. Throughout both of these games, they have fallen pretty far behind, and both have failed to find that moment to collect yourself, to look to turn the tide of that game. And I feel like that is something that Tempo Storm, or Gale Force, excuse me, has shown consistently throughout the past. You heard Mike even talk about it in the interview as far back as PAX West and how that had shaken this kind of squad. And it feels like here, still to this day, when it all matters, passiveness is the first thing that comes to mind.
Well, King Caffeine is hoping to change that this game. We saw some pressure toward the top, like Glaurung suggested. It has not netted first blood to Gale Force Esports, but they are trying to bring that kind of aggression in so they don't fall behind in the early game. The setup is this: 3 altars to channel, and with great zoning from Tempo Storm, they'll take 2 of them.
But it comes at a cost. Well, not really. Tempo Storm, they get both the channels and a kill. My bad there.
Ooh.
Great flip into that stun onto the wall coffin with immediate follow-up there on Li Ming. It was a very fast reset, and already Tempo Storm pulling ahead in this game. They're not done. They even try and get that initiation onto Akka. June's going to take the portal away. He's got Ghost Wolf form soon.
Gale Force will chase them away. Tempo Storm get 2 of the 3 altars, and Cattle going to start working on the sappers in the top lane. Traditionally, this is a battleground that should favor Gale Force Esports. They are currently 6-0 on it in Phase 2, whereas Tempo Storm are 2-6, and those last 2 victories were in the last couple of series that they played it on. So it is something that is more stable for Gale Force to be able to get a victory, and that might make the difference. Hopefully for Gale Force that does make the difference. And for us, for the viewers, for us casters, because I want more games, Dread.
You want more games?
I'm selfish. I want more games.
You know, well, I hate to break it to you, but on that note of those few small wins that Tempo Storm was able to get on a map like Towers, were they able to get a game against a team like Team Freedom on a map like this? Because I'm recalling this, I believe that Team Freedom is one of the best Towers of Doom teams in the world, let alone in North America, flat out most dominant, and they beat Team Freedom.
And that was with the comp that we could not. We were just like, there's no way they win this double support and an Abathur, but it turns out if you have triple support, Vala can be as aggressive as she wants. She's going nowhere.
She's just up in your face.
Next altar spawning in 20 seconds as both teams start to work on their respective sapper camps. Fury spots out the Gale Force is working on there. Those gets booped back, but Gale Force weren't fast enough to stop this. So now Tempo Storm is fully in the camp of Gale Force. They take out Ariel.
Yeah, this is getting out of control very fast. Tempo Storm is not done. They're going to get the chase. Body blocks coming out from Cattle, and now we have beef. It's what's for dinner. Tempo Storm takes a 3rd kill and an altar to boot.
Tempo Storm is, I just don't know if I've ever seen them play the way we're seeing them play this weekend and even today versus a team of the caliber of Gale Force Esports. They get another altar. They steal Sapper Camp. They have Sappers running into the base. They're trying to take an early bell tower so that they can open this game up for quick victory.
They are so very far ahead of the members of Gale Force Esports, and it's the biggest thing that Gale Force has on their side is at least they've got themselves that false stat and an ETC possibly to go into stage dive. Just as long as they have global advantage, you can argue it's reliable to get that experience back. It's just whether or not their HP on their core stays up long enough for that experience to balance out. And right now, it doesn't look like they're going to have that window.
Tempo Storm continuing to make rotations. Psalm has been working on his Master's Touch stacks, but only has a few. So that is maybe one area that Gale Force Esports could abuse in this next team fight before Tempo Storm were to get 10. If Tempo Storm would be willing to give them that fight, they haven't so far been willing to give them any of those fights. We also have a Triumvirate pick for more damage from the Arcane Orb, or getting the cooldown reduction that is for Arcane Orb, so they can have that more often.
3 versus 2, and Tempo Storm is legitimately turning this around. Now the 4 members are getting a full collapse. Akafe's made it out. K1 Pro, or excuse me, Fan starts the flight. He makes it out, and things are fine for Gale Force. It was a fancy escape, but let's be real here. Tempo Storm's so confident that they took the 2 versus 3. That is insane.
They rotated up. Gale Force not being able to do anything from that, not getting any kills, at least put some pressure down in the bottom lane though. Halfway through that bell tower, and that catches them up in that bottom lane somewhat. But Gale Force are here at the camp, and they can't be here. Tempo Storm are everywhere, and they're the ones with heroic abilities.
Yeah, they have heroic abilities, and it's inevitable. Unless heroics are picked up by Gale Force Esports, they get these 2 altars. Mike Udall flipped after another initiation here from Tempo Storm. When does it stop, really, is what I'm starting to ask myself here, Gilly.
I don't know if it's going to, Dread.
I don't think so.
Caterpillar's going to just use Tormented Soul. He's 1 versus 3. Medivh's heading up. Cattles keeps himself alive. Medivh is almost here. He gets the shield. He knocks him away, though. King Caffeine knocks him away from the portal, but here comes the APOC.
And the Leyline Seal combo is online. Fan flies away, not wanting to deal with this, just leaving the members of Gale Force 4 dead. Akaface is the only one who goes down. Altar number 2 starting the channel, and Fan gets it.
It just feels like it's risky for Gale Force to be anywhere on the map right now.
Yeah.
We see them there. It's like, Tempo are using these portals or rotating. That's going to get even worse once 13 is here for some.
Tempo Storm here is just terrifying. Rhaegar and friends are going to start up there. Sapper camp down below that bottom bell tower is already taking a smidge of damage, and that's something that once we see Tempo Storm control and convert that bottom bell tower and manipulate that southern lane, that is when Towers of Doom gets to this oppressive, hard to come back from style of map, and we're about at that breaking point, and that is never something you want to say if you are 8 shots behind and almost, what are we looking at, a full level lead at this point?
It is. But Tempo Storm do have these long cooldown-dependent team fights with Tormented Souls, with Leyline into APOC, and then Ancestral Healing too, which wasn't used in the last time. That might be something that Gale Force can abuse with their heroic abilities. They have a lot of safety, and they have now the double global with ETC and Falstad. This double global kind of composition is something that Gale Force has run for a really long time. So if they can start to get some sort of manipulation on the battleground, maybe take that bottom bell tower, they just can't lose their globals like this.
Force a gust. The portal is there for Psalm, but he's not going to walk through it. We have 7 more seconds for the APOC to come online. A lot of pressure of Gale Force on bottom, but the collapse from Tempo Storm is going to be real. There's no gust to disengage this either. No dismount, anchoring from Calf. Leyline Seal, this is very scary for Gale Force Esports. They might just try and force this.
Gale Force are feeling the pressure, feeling the panic. They needed to get something done, but the good zoning and the time that was bought by Fan on that Falstad did give them the bell tower control. So this is a point for Gale Force to try to get back in this game. They're down the 13, but structurally they're starting to get an advantage that they could do something with their globals with.
Which altar do we see the members of Gale Force focus on here? Down that talent tier, you know that taking 1 is ideal for them, just going even with the members of Tempo Storm. 7 seconds away, Falstad's yet to indicate if he has any interest in making his way down. ETC has made the way, so no use of the stage dive, at least not enough to get value out of the global. Gale Force starts the channel on mid. Cattle's going to be the man who tries to make it happen. Psalm doesn't take the portal and interrupt, so Gale Force gets shots.
K1 Pro gets the altar. Now it's if they can disengage, if they want to disengage. They do have Tempo Storm here. Power Slide hits Caterpillar. Fury's still around, so is Psalm. Psalm is the important member to keep these members safe with his portals and his Force of Wills if June isn't around for an Ancestral Healing. They trade, and that is about as good as Gale Force can get that with the zoning currently.
13
There's
is
the
here
trade.
for Gale Force. I can't believe Tempo was given that afterwards. Both teams played that a little bit different than I expected. Tempo, I assumed, would be a lot more aggressive, but then when they stopped, I was like, you know, I can understand that there's bell towers nearby. You don't want to burn the ley line. Again, they're cooldown dependent composition, but then Gale Force got the 13, and then they were willing to give it up too. Both very just considerate of what decision they're going to make, not wanting to make the one that ends up losing this game, because we are sitting match point between these two teams. Power slide, going to be dropped there, but one Medivh shield's enough to say nigh. Portal, it's going to be used by Tempo. Nothing gained.
Well, for Gale Force, I think it was all about just making sure that they could keep Falstad soaking and pushing the lanes as fast as he can. Now he might be forced to fly in, but that is always a potential opportunity for Gale Force Esports to try to get the man advantage up, knowing that if they can send Mouthy up to the top or use Stage Dive and Falstad, which they did in the top lane. But Tempo Storm realized this. They're going after K1 Pro, and a sound barrier must be used to keep him alive.
It must be used, and it is enough to keep him alive. Stage Dive dropped by King Caffeine on the backside, and Gale Force, they walk away from the situation. It just cost them 2 heroics, and that is not something that you can say is a very big win, especially if Leyline or APOC is online. Anytime that those heroics are used and not used, and Gale Force has to use heroics, you just flat out go, how do we win the next fight?
Yeah, I thought King Caffeine had stage dove up to the top so they could get the kill on Mouthy, but at least he could stage dive down behind. It was just a little bit too late with sound barrier having to be burned. So now Tempo have control of the bell towers.
Gilly.
There's some sappers here, and this is the triple altar spawn.
Right around the 16 talent tier as well. Tempo Storm, they've got this pressure on bottom. They are just completely forcing the hand of Gale Force Esports with every transition. I think it is not unrealistic to expect that Tempo is going to get themselves a triple altar. That's a lot of shots that Gale Force doesn't have on their core.
Yeah, because Tempo Storm have pressed Gale Force so far back, Medivh can try to rotate in. Nobody is channeling the safe altar for Gale Force yet. Falstad's just now heading there. So there's no way for anybody to get over to the mid. 10 shots. 10 shots to set the core down to 10 for Gale Force. In the game, they must win to stay in the playoffs.
Tempo Storm still controls this bottom bell tower, and this was what I was talking about, how the map gets so oppressive whenever this bell tower is converted, because Rhaegar is back starting up the mercenaries. June will get those, they'll pressure outward, and then the poke from Li Ming, the fear of the Leyline APOC initiation is constantly lingering over your shoulders. In Gale Force Esports, they're so far down in this series, in this game, that they're out of second chances. They cannot make one mistake from this point on if they want to hold their own.
Get some lockdown on Fury, but he is one tanky Diablo at this point. Cursed Bullet limits some of that, brings it down somewhat in the health bar, but with the double supporting, or at least the help of Som, even now that he has reabsorption, truly double supporting, Fury will be just fine. I cannot believe how long Tempo Storm have been able to hold on to this bottom bell tower.
Because none of the members of Gale Force are now can transfer anywhere else. Falstad is doing his best to try and keep up with the Mouthdale side soak. It just isn't enough. Tempo, though, did give Gale Force a entire level while down a talent tier advantage. Didn't gain anything out of it here. So Gale Force has to be thankful that nothing happened over that past entire window of a level.
But Mouthdale has been pushing really well, and because no one can leave, that's now in the mid that's pushing up to that bell tower. And with both the bell towers low of Gale Force, if Gale Force lose a team fight handily, Tempo Storm are going to turn this entire map red and obliterate Gale Force this final game. They are already so far ahead of Gale Force Esports. Gale Force have to make something happen.
But if they convert this bell tower and then end up taking the fight on bottom, there's a really good Falstad flight gust opportunity maybe for the members of Gale Force Esports here. Tempo maybe forgetting that that bell tower just converted. It's rebuilding in this window. It's just we need to find a window for them to get this kind of major play. Flank coming from Cattle down below. The altar still yet to start the channel. K1 Pro's the focus for now. He gets flipped. Fury takes a Medivh shield.
It's the Medivh shield.
There's
the
a
Leyline seal is out. K1 Pro completely separated from the rest of the team, but gets back to Fan and Mike Udall. The Apocalypse went down after that, but King Caffeine had the Aegis. Now they take down Diablo. He will be back because of the souls, but this is a little bit of time where Gale Force have the man advantage.
Calf stage on the backside, but Tempo Storm just tries to all in. They're down a man, and they do not care. The portal's going to be taken. Tempo Storm starts the channel up themselves. June's going to be the man on that, as we see Diablo is looking to join the ranks of Tempo Storm.
But they have Apocalypse, Leyline, and Tormented Souls down. Looking at the other side, though, both of the big support heroics were used. Crystal Aegis and the Sound Barrier, and no Gust for 20 seconds still. So Tempo Storm feel like this is still a fight that they can try to hang around and at least try to delay as long as possible, but in the end, finally backing off. It's not worth losing some staggered deaths.
It is not worth losing those, but we find this game is still very much towards Tempo Storm's favor. The experience being back towards Gale Force, or at least even, is absolutely huge, because Tempo Storm, during the talent tier advantage that they had, not once did they ever try and force extra shots other than through those sappers up on bottom or converting them through the bell tower. And just to not lose a boss in 4 extra shots while being down in talent tier suddenly opens up a miracle win condition for them later on.
The biggest deal for Gale Force is that they've been able to keep Falstad in the lanes and not have to worry about the threat of picks. He's still playing safely, but because ETC has stage dive, King Caffeine can make sure to take care of that Falstad, and that is why we're seeing the experience still be so close. That and getting that kill on Diablo. Gale Force are still behind. The sappers go down without doing any damage to the bell tower, but Gale Force know that they need to get something done here.
They need to, but they aren't going to make it happen. It's just this 1-4 split is going to continue over and over again, and until the members of Gale Force Esports do something different than what they have been, I don't know why they expect a different result. Tempo Storm is going to be comfortable with what they've gotten and just wait for their heroics to come online, try and force over the next altar. It is nice, though. This game isn't being controlled by Tempo Storm anymore. They aren't always forcing to be reactive for Gale Force Esports. It's just they still need to be proactive at some point in time, make Tempo suddenly look at them and go, maybe we can't take this team fight. And this is the best time to do it.
Yes, the double global spread back out with 21-10. Gale Force could theoretically trade out on the altars, but man, it's very scary to do that because you're starting to put yourself into lethality on your core. Tempo Storm, pretty close to 20, but maybe not close enough that Gale Force could try to get in and contest the altar for a little bit, see if they get a quick kill before they back out.
June will start this channel. Gale Force doesn't show interest to get the delay unless there's going to be a stage dive. No, so 4 more shots over to Gale Force.
Falstad in the bottom.
Other direction as well, and Falstad with that split push.
So they were trading because they were hoping they could get something done with Falstad in the bottom, and because the altars were the top, that allowed Gale Force to transition up to the top and get those sappers. Falstad has been working on that top bell tower for a really long time, so if they could finally just bring that down, but they don't want to just trade out on bell towers because they're behind, that would still be in favor of Tempo Storm. They want to gain control of the map, of the bell towers, but they also still have to respect Tempo Storm and 20. We got Medivh cheats. Still waiting to see what we get from Diablo.
Nice kill. 1 versus 1 onto the Falstad. Saw him flexing on that Medivh there. I have no idea what happened. I saw the invade, but I didn't think it was realistic. He didn't even burn his heroic. So whatever happened, definitely miscommunication and misplay by Gale Force Esports, and not having the gust means Tempo Storm is very comfortable starting themselves up. A boss is going to be given for free, leaving the core of Gale Force Esports down to just 2 remaining HP.
Yep, Gale Force at least have to get something out of this. So they rotate to the bottom to try to bring down the bell tower. They have sappers there. They will be able to get it, but because the top was low, Tempo Storm are still going to get a bell tower from that too.
Calf is there alone.
Calf.
He has to burn his stage dive if he's going to make it out. The
wave of force.
10 more seconds until that's back. 7, 6. No way. King Caffeine is dead too. Gilly, things are falling apart.
This might be the moment we look back on. The kill on Falstad and the kill on ETC as what sealed the deal for Tempo Storm. 2 altars in 27 seconds. No ETC for 51. He has stage dive back up, but can Gale Force Esports stop Tempo Storm from getting these altars? Especially with all of the bell towers now being controlled. It's only the bottom that Gale Force has any stronghold left.
The flight, the gust attempt to push him in. The area wins. Tormented Souls has dropped. Tempo Storm is going to force this fight. 3 versus 4.
Gale Force Esports withstands the Tormented Souls, but Akaface gets so much damage that finally a Crystal Aegis from Michael Udall will be able to help him. There is a Medivh cheats to catch both of the supports. Akaface staying alive till the bitter end as he finally falls. Tempo Storm take down Michael Udall, and this should be just about it. There's only Greyman and Falstad left. They're going to do their very best to stall out Tempo Storm.
They're going to do their very best, but it results in the same outcome. Tempo Storm will take out Gale Force Esports 3-0 and be your third place North American representatives at the BlizzCon HGC Finals.
Tempo Storm is the final team to qualify for the HGC Finals. We now know all 16 teams who are going. This guy will be there competing his heart out, representing North America. How do you feel about Tempo Storm being the team to go after this series?
After this series, I can say without a doubt, this best of 5 in particular is the best we have ever seen Tempo Storm play.
Like, I'm
totally
right?
agree.
Other than you and I.
Other than us, okay. No, but what I mean is, like, I haven't seen this version or a version close to this from Tempo Storm in over a year.
I totally agree. I think part of it is finally being able to figure out what roles truly define them, what they feel best on. Som seems to be on another level these last few times. Fury seems to be on an absolute tear. Like,
dude,
I am
Diablo?
terrified. His everything, Glau.
Yeah.
His everything.
Seriously, though, like, you're not overselling it at all. He's so good. Like, in this playoff, like, I honestly would put Fury probably as the Tempo Storm MVP.
I agree. He played out of his mind, but the whole team played phenomenally. The boot camp really came in for Tempo Storm to put on an incredible showing and show why they deserve to have this repeat BlizzCon performance.
I'm really satisfied to see that level of dominance from them and then to be that third place representative, right? That is always what I'm looking for. To hold your own across the rest of the world, you got to be able to bully North America. And Tempo Storm did some things that they have never shown me ever since this formation of a roster. They have never been able to be like, well, we're just going to pick this map, even though that's strategically just for the next opponent, and then still look absolutely dominant. Hide this, ban out the Vala in Game 3. They did so many things that were just, we're better than you, and we know that, and we're going to win, that they have never done before. And so I almost feel like it's going to be the best of this roster's ever done internationally. I'm just not sold because they still have a long while until BlizzCon, and it's going to be a very different game at that point in time.
Right, and we know that traditionally international play has been a sort of weakness for Tempo Storm in the past, this roster. So I still have a lot of faith, though, with how they have been able to come in and make these kinds of changes, that they'll be able to do really well. I'm really excited, and I know you're probably very excited for
on a
HGC
personal
Finals.
level, too, like, I'm excited to go to BlizzCon, but I'm really excited to be able to go with my roommate now. Like, now that Catalyst qualified, it would have been awkward in the house, I think, if he ended up losing today, so I'm really thankful that they ended up somehow making the victory happen.
I agree. Now thinking about it, I'm thankful for you, or I'm happy for you that you didn't have to deal with that situation. Just at the back of your mind, every time Kato decides to talk trash, you can be just like BlizzCon, bro. But luckily now you can't do that. You got that going for you guys. Things are fine in the household, Glarong household.
Yeah, Glau is safe. Don't worry, everybody. Well, I've got to ask now, Glau, what do preparations look like for the NA teams, for you guys now with a few weeks until HGC Finals?
Now that playoffs are over, you'd expect like a bit of a lull, right? But no, it's the complete opposite. Every North American representative, us, Team Freedom, and Tempo Storm, need to elevate our level of gameplay, and we need to elevate our practice. So I honestly think that Tempo Storm should maybe take tonight, celebrate, maybe take like one day off, but then after that, just practice harder than they ever have.
Hit it hard. Let's check in with Tempo Storm, our HGC Finals representatives. Congratulations, guys. How are you feeling with a 3-0 win over Gale Force? So, good? Yeah?
I feel like the emotion of the room, if you just read the room that they're in right now and compare it to the interview yesterday, something's different, but I'm not quite sure what.
All right, you guys came in. You had a 3-0. What do you attribute that to?
Boot camp.
Boot camp.
We planned everything out. We knew what comps we wanted on what map. We knew what maps we wanted to ban, what we wanted to pick. We hid all our strats yesterday. Yeah. Showed absolutely nothing. And
we did that, huh?
It worked out perfectly.
Yeah, we did do that.
The Praxis.
Oh, Mike.
Well, I'm just going to say, all of us have already said it. We feel like that you guys are playing at the top of your game that we've never seen before. So congratulations. You guys played amazingly, and I'm so excited that you are going to HGC Finals. Dread.
Mine is just about that level of hunger that we feel like we sense from you guys, and just questioning from your point of view, do you feel that? Because it feels like you guys have a hunger to win that hasn't been there for a long while. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Psalm has enough hunger for all 5 of us.
After mid-season was when we lost our hunger.
After what's the last season? I think we kind of needed to have our backs against the wall. When we hit rock bottom, getting dumpstered by Superstars 3 weeks ago, something flipped. We were like, this is not the team we want to be.
Shout out to Superstars for giving us that fire.
And how we improved from that point against Superstars to now gives us hope that we can continue to improve at that pace and put up some competition at BlizzCon.
Well, you know what? I hope that you guys do. And good luck at BlizzCon. I'm going to send you over to Glorong.
Hey guys, first of all, congratulations. I'm really happy to see you guys as the 3rd North American representative. I don't really have a question so much as a statement, and I want to see if you guys can back me up. Last year, both me and you guys disappointed our region and ourselves by getting like 7th, 8th, I'd say. And I just want to hear it from you guys because I'm going to try my very best to make the opposite happen. Am I going to get the same from you guys? Let's go, boys. Let's make NA proud. Let's go, Psalm. I love Psalm so much. No, but honestly, like, the fact that you guys have made it back one entire year, same roster, what can we expect out of you guys at BlizzCon? A different level of intensity, I'd say?
Yeah, we're going in as prepared as we possibly can be and know what we want to play. Just make sure we're on top of the meta. Moon's already one-tricking Hana. So.
You're going to see a different level of focus from us. We're actually going to make sure our games play out from the very beginning of the game to the very end of the match exactly how we want it. We're going to get our drafts exactly how we want them, and nobody's going to expect it from us.
Hey guys, it's me, support man.
Hey, Leslie, at least if we face Fnatic, we'll make it 30. At least that's a big step up. Yeah, improvement.
All right. Well, congratulations again, guys. I'm so excited to hear about the new intensity, the new focus for you guys. The floor is yours for shout-outs.
All right,
once again, shout out to Red Bull, obviously, for the boot camp and letting us use the facility, and of course, our sponsors, Twitch, Mastrop, NVIDIA, SkyTech, and Twitch? Yes, of course I said Twitch.
NVIDIA, SkyTech, Mastrop.
We've got so many people supporting us now that I'm forgetting them. Oh no! Secret Lab, of course, our chairs.
The chairs.
Hold on, don't forget Twitch chat.
And all of our fans,
Twitch
we love
chat.
you. Thank you.
You're going to BlizzCon! Congratulations! What, was there a Chewbacca?
That was Chewbacca. That was definitely
We
Chew.
had everything.
All right, wait. Which person do you think made the Chewbacca impression? Because I can't.
Cawthon.
It's got to be Cawthon.
It's gotta be Cawthon.
Sounds like Cawthon.
It sounded like
Yeah.
Cawthon.
But June